Here we go. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Raw Chocolate. You guys know me, some of you at least. My name is Rose, and I'm the librarian here at Bighorn Library. And this is Dr. Rob. He's also my brother. And we are delighted to have all of you come here and learn about the benefits of raw chocolate, how delicious it is, and how good it is for you. I'm not going to talk very much because Rob's the expert. So, away you go.
Well, I'm not quite an expert, but I love raw chocolate. And I like eating it, and I know it's so good for me. So that's a really great thing. So we have lots of stuff here, and I'm going to go through lots of different pieces that we have here to show you, because there's lots of variations. But essentially all you need is this and this. Cacao paste and sweetener. This is agave, but many sweeteners work. I have this maple syrup, straight from Quebec. Good for it, nice work. Honey, now you can use honey, but you would want to warm it up so it's liquid, so it mixes in more easily. And this we have the very special artichoke root extract, very low glycemic index, and it tastes very molassesy, as you can see here. If you can see that, it's very dark in color. And it's got a nice flavor. Did you try it, Rose?
I did not.
It's quite nice.
Oh, yeah, that's yummy. It tastes like Grandma's cookies.
So any sweetener will work. Now, ideally not a granular sweetener because it doesn't dissolve because we want to keep the temperature low. So what we've got here, I have cacao paste here and hot water. That's all. That's as simple as it is. And this is how I make it. I also do it on a double boiler sometimes. When we were asking about a double boiler. Yes. And that works good. You have to keep a close eye on it because you don't want to overheat it. Because if you overheat it, then you lose some of the food value, all the great antioxidants. And that's one of the things we're going to talk about is how healthy it is. It's so good for you. This here is just, yes, there we go, cocoa butter. And that's just melting. We've got the same thing as some hot water here, so it's perfect. It's melting away. Do you want to add a little more, or do you have enough in there?
I think there's enough for what I want to do.
Okay, good. So that's the more complicated way. You take roughly a cup of cocoa butter and a cup of cocoa, or cacao.
Yes.
Cacao is what, here's this, the trendy way to call it. And sort of, there's no right and wrong way to call it. You can call it cacao or you can call it cocoa. But sort of in a general sense, most people say when it's raw, they call it cacao. And then when it's refined, like this here, beautiful Dutch cocoa, organic, but it's refined, it's been heated up, so they call it cocoa. And it was kind of when it came from South America, it was cacao, and then somehow the Europeans switched around to cocoa. And so any cocoa will work. This is good. This isn't organic, or it's organic, but it's been heated, so it's not quite as good for you. It's still really good for you. Like, it's all relative. This is excellent for you. This is even better because it's raw. Or this one here, this is another, organic cocoa. Yep.
And this is also
raw. So
raw.
Yeah. So raw just means it hasn't been heated up. So it means it has more food value. Like anything else, your broccoli is better for you raw than it is once it's cooked. Your Brussels sprouts, same thing. So although some Brussels sprouts are actually better for you when they're cooked, I've heard. But there are some vegetables that you can cook. But most foods, if you cook them, you lose some food value. Same thing with cocoa. So that's why we use the hot water, because you can't overheat it. You can walk away, you can leave, you can do something else, come back, and if you didn't get to it right away, you're not going to. Whereas if you have a double boiler, you do that, you could overcook it, and it's still going to taste really good, but it's not going to be as good for you. So we're going to go with the healthier version. Let me add a couple more pieces because we're going to make 2 batches out of this one.
Sounds like a good plan.
So do you want to add?
While you're doing that, I'm going to make a kind of chocolate today, and here is what it's going to end up looking like. And I decided to do this because I used to love fruit and nut bar. That was my favorite when I was a kid. And that was made with milk chocolate, of course. I'm sure you've all eaten it, Cadbury's fruit and nut bar. But these days my taste leaned more towards a dark chocolate, and I thought I would make one myself, plus which he told me it would be good for me. So I'm going for it.
And it is good for you. That's the beautiful thing about it.
There we go. So I have this in here. How much of this raw cocoa powder do I want to add?
This is about half a cup of cocoa butter.
Half a cup of cocoa butter.
So it's supposed to be about half a cup of cocoa as well.
All right.
Cacao, because we got raw stuff, so we're gonna be trendy and call it cacao.
Excellent.
It sounds cool in a way. Cocoa sounds maybe unhealthy, but cacao sounds, it's got to be good for me. But really, it's all good for you.
Cocoa's kind of mundane.
And actually, cocoa was from South America. That's where it's been there for thousands of years. It was actually it was a valuable asset even back in these Incas and the Mayans. They used to make hot they used to make cocoa, hot chocolate, and that was a drink for the upper class. I was like, that was or living large. Even if you're poor, if you had your cocoa, that was a really lavish day. And actually, they say that it was traded as a commodity. The cocoa beans, which are about the size of this size, if you can see that roughly, they were the commodity of the day. You used cocoa beans to buy your groceries and to buy your cow or your whatever it is whatever you needed. Cocoa beans were the commodity. So that's how valuable they've been for so long. I'd add more cocoa even than that.
Did you add more cocoa? Can I have another spoon?
Sure.
There we go.
So I'm going to stir this here up just to keep it melting a little bit because we want it to be, as you can see.
How hot is that water?
It's just boiled water.
You boiled it?
You just boiled it and put it in there, yeah.
Okay.
So as you can see, it's melting nicely here. That's what we want to see. Now, the simplest version, well, I'll wait till it's a little more melted first because you want it to be melted. You mix it up as you go. That only speeds it up. And as you can notice, I was just breaking the pieces up. You don't have to do that. It just takes a little longer. If you have a double boiler and you're doing it, as long as you keep it close on it, you can just, it'll do it quite quickly because it's hot. But it's a little bit hotter, so you have to be a little bit careful so you don't overheat it. That's looking better now.
Is that enough, or maybe a little more?
Maybe a little more. I want a little bit
I want to
thicker
keep adding until it gets just a little bit pasty.
Yeah, kind of like this kind of thickness. You can see it dripping nicely.
Yes.
That's a good thickness. And if you really want to be specific, 1 cup and 1 cup or half cup and half cup is roughly, and then you add your sweetener, about a 1/4 cup or not in this case 1/8 of a cup.
In my case, it's going to be quite a bit less. I only like a tablespoon of sweetener mixed in there, partly because I'm also going to add raisins and almonds, and you want to have a contrast between the bitter chocolate, that looks very nice, and the sweet raisins. I'm going to pull it off the water now because it's quite melted, and you can see what I'm doing more easily that way because it shows through the thing. Now, I have almonds here that I've chopped up, and I toasted these in a hot pan, not long enough to cook them really because I want them to stay raw so I still have the raw nut benefit as well, but just enough to give it a little bit of that toasty taste because, you know, they get nicer when they're toasted. So I'm pouring that in there, and this container is full of dark raisins. That's the kind I like best, so that's the kind I'm putting into my candy.
I prefer yellow raisins myself, but that's my
Here
personal.
we go.
Cranberries.
I also like
Yes.
to add a little bit of coconut to it, and that's kind of it softens it up a little bit, lightens it up a little bit, so
Or
that.
just pure coconut.
Oh, that's what I want. Coconut oil.
Here's a spoon here. I just use that one.
Okay, good.
So as you notice, both of us, we added a little bit of coconut oil. And that just gives a little bit of creaminess. It's a little softer. As you know, coconut oil is softer than cocoa butter. And if you don't happen to have cocoa butter around, you can use all coconut oil if you don't have cocoa butter. Because sometimes this is in every store. Ideally organic if you can. But the cocoa butter, you can always get it separately. It doesn't always have it in all the grocery stores. But this will have it be in every grocery store. This here that Rose was about to add is good too. This has coconut meat and coconut oil. You can use that as well. It's a little thicker.
Now, I'm just going to pour a tablespoon of this agave syrup in. I love the way the agave syrup tastes. Now, I'm going to take my chocolate away and put it in a cooler to chill down for a little while because I'm going to try to form it into a log to make a nice slice out of it later. A little chocolate salami, actually, would be what you'd call it. So that's going away right now, and Rob is going to start working on some more chocolate and also talking to you, I think, about antioxidants and things like that.
All sorts of things like that. That's what makes chocolate so healthy. The antioxidants, exactly. And
Can you reach it?
so most of us know that fruits and vegetables are good for us, and there's something called the ORAC value. Oxygen, I even have written down here. I'll hold some of these things up to the screen so you can see them, but oxygen radical absorption capacity. Most of us have heard of ORAC, that's what it stands for, and the higher the ORAC value, the better it is for you. So we know that an apple is roughly 200. Banana, most fruits are around a couple hundred, 200, 300. Berries are better. Blueberries, very good. Kale is excellent.
There we go. That's okay. Anybody, we will make these lists and information and recipes available. All you have to do is ask your librarian to send me an email, and I'll shoot them out to you next week. There we go. So it's kale is good.
Kale is like amazing. It's so good for us. And some of us eat kale, some of us don't.
Me, I like it.
Most likes kale, and I like it, but I don't prepare it that often. If I had kale once a week, that'd be a lot for me. So give me some more hot water too, Rose. So I need some here. Perfect. Good. So you don't want to get water in there, but you want the hot water there. So I'm just gonna let that. It's just looking really good. It's starting to liquid. There's still a few little chunks in there, so I'm just gonna heat up a little bit more. But so 100 grams of cacao or cocoa, even cocoa, because usually they test it on cocoa because it's been heated, because that's what most chocolate bars are out there is cocoa, is 100-gram bar, which is a good size bar, is worth 55,000 ORAC value.
That's incredible.
So we think that kale is a great thing at 1,200 or 1,500, and an apple is good at 200. Chocolate at 55,000 is just like the best ever. And then you can add superfoods. You can add, your raisins and your nuts, your mango, your coconut, or other fruits that you like, and they're all rich in ORAC value as well. So the more you add to it of superfoods, the more you can add spirulina. Spirulina is another high ORAC value. Green algae. Now you wouldn't think that something you'd add chocolate, but you don't really taste it. It actually adds a little bit of creaminess to it. If you add just a half a teaspoon or so.
He has to explain spirulina to me. I don't know what that is.
It's a blue-green algae. And it's really good for us. Algae is good for us. Most of the green drinks we drink, a lot of them have spirulina and things like that. It's taste-wise, it's kind of like drinking grass if you take it straight up. But if you mix it with other things, it tastes pretty good. And when I drink it, I think of mowing the grass when I was young. It's a fond smell, so I can relate to it that way. But the taste itself, not ideal. But put into something, a little bit of chocolate or into a smoothie, spirulina really increases the antioxidant level, allows you to be healthier. And what that is our bodies, if we're alive, we're producing free radicals. Part of burning sugar, sitting in a chair, walking, running, being stressed, we produce free radicals. And our bodies naturally can clean it up. But most of us are more stressed than we should be, so our free radicals get too much, and that creates damage in our arteries and our hearts, tissues of our body. Almost every disease we have has a free radical damage component to it. So it damages tissues. We don't want that. That's arthritis, cancer, heart disease, anything like that. So increasing your ORAC value is good. That's why fruits and vegetables. You should eat 7 to 15 fruits and vegetables per day, ideally. Most of us don't do that either. But we should, because we know if we do that, we'll be healthier, because we have all these free radical absorbers, these ORACs, that are going to help keep us healthy, because it'll keep all that food is going to be healthy for us, and we're not going to have the cell damage, and we're going to get better. We're almost to the point here of this.
And if anybody has a question that they want to ask, just go ahead and turn your microphone on and call out. We're not going to keep this formal. So, if he uses a word like spirulina, you don't know what it means, that's okay. You can ask him, just like I did, and he'll tell you.
I'm going to make a bark with some sour cherries. I like sour cherries. You can do sweet cherries too. And again, I like to buy organic. But if you just get cherries from the store, dried cherries, great. Any kind of dried fruit works really well. Do you want to grab the bark out of the cooler there for me? I'll pull that up here.
I have a question about the double boiler. Because sometimes you have to be careful with the double boiler, because the steam will come up and get into your chocolate.
Yes, you want to have a good leak, so you don't have a tight seal of your bowl in the because you want it to naturally just steam off, so it doesn't create a problem. So here we have. I made this yesterday. I just made some chocolate like I'm doing here, just like this. Added some agave, I'll show you some of the other things I add, and then now it's sour cherry bark. So we can go like this. These are mangoes that I dipped in chocolate. These are fudge. What do you call them? Fudge truffles.
Fudge truffles, delicious. I ate one already. I don't think you're. There you go.
We got it. Yeah. So now I hope your mouth is watering, because they're really tasty.
We have to apologize, because everybody here can sample and you guys can't, but that's all right.
So when it's cold, it breaks apart nicely like this. You can just see it's just coming apart, and that's what we want. So here, or you should have a little bit just to make sure it's good.
There we go.
And you should have some too.
There we go. Jadalyn, you want to try some chocolate?
Sure.
Yay!
All right. Chocolate with sour cherries. There you go. There. Do you want some? It's all yours.
He's mean. He's always been mean, though. All of his life.
That's good.
I'm telling you. There we go.
That's good. Do you want to try a piece of that? Just makes it good there, Rose?
I would.
Good. However, quiet about the meanness part. We don't want that to be.
It really is delicious.
So,
100%. Oh, you're going to want
nope,
this to make
I'm
the
going to add
next
some more, exactly. And all this is the old baking pan. It's a parchment sheet. You don't even need the parchment sheet, just makes it easier. Because it's an oil base, because it's cocoa butter and coconut oil, it won't stick, but that's handy. Another thing you can do is put them, if you want to make little nuggets, a ice cube tray is great. But also what I'm going to do, I'm going to make some of these little cups, just little muffin cups, tiny ones. What's really handy, if you can find them, I haven't found one, but is when you get the tiny muffin tins, silicone.
Silicone, yes.
Because then it can pop out really easy. But that's getting technical. This works really well. The little cups and then the parchment paper. So I like some of the things. This is lucuma.
Lucuma.
Did you try some?
No, I
There's a
haven't.
taste there.
It says
Take a
gold
taste.
of the Incas.
Yes. So it adds a bit of creaminess to it. So it adds a bit of, if you like, more of a milky chocolate, but it also has a bit of sweetness. So you can add sweetness without adding any high glycemic index. So
Oh, good idea for someone like you with the diabetes.
exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you can add this, and you use less sweetener then.
It's nice. It's really powdery, and it has a bit of a malt flavor to it, like a malt ball would have.
So I'm just going to add and again, it's to taste. I'm going to put a heaping teaspoon, just because we have a pretty healthy size of chocolate there. Now, this other one that I like here is mesquite. Try to get that one, try Rose.
All right. Mesquite, I thought that was for barbecue.
Well, it is, but this is different. This is, taste that. It's really, it's almost a caramely flavored to it. I'm going to add a little bit of that too.
Wow, that's crazy.
And so with these, you're adding food value. They're also good for you. They're good for your heart. It's rich in magnesium, all these good things for you. So this is mesquite powder and lucuma. And I'm going to mix those in here. Now, another thing that I think is essential, you don't have to do it, but to me it just is one of those flavors that you should do. Nope. Vanilla. Now, you can use vanilla extract. I like the raw vanilla powder, or you can get a vanilla bean, slice it, scrape the vanilla out of the middle of it. That works really well. You don't need much of this because it's strong stuff, so I should do a quarter teaspoon of that in there. And to me, that's just an essential for all my chocolate. The other ones, the lucuma, the mesquite, I vary. It depends on what I want to do. The other day for the mango ones, I added some of this, some orange peel powder.
Ooh.
So it's just orange peel ground up, so it's got that nice bit of a bitterness of orange peel, but added with mango and the chocolate, it was delicious.
I like that.
I feel I should fling myself on this grenade and taste one for you.
Yes, thank you, Rose. She's such a trooper.
I've always been thoughtful that way.
All right.
Oh, it's delicious.
Would
And
need
you know, you
flavor, Laura?
can kind of
Take
get
this
that
and dump it out and put some fresh hot water in there. I just want to make sure it melts nice and good here.
sort of subtle orange flavor to it. It's nice.
So we're almost there. It's just still a bit lumpy, so I'm going to give just a little bit of fresh hot water. She's going to dump that one out though, so it's not too full. And so now I'm going to set this. This is a cacao paste. So this is was the easy way: cacao paste and sweetener. I haven't had any sweetener. I like agave, so I'm going to just glug that. Some people measure it. I don't. I just go like that, and I taste it. Because I'm making it for me, I can do that. If you're making it commercially, you can't taste it. But I like putting fingers in my food and tasting it, so that's what I'm going to do.
I think all of us are just going to make it to eat for breakfast. Am I right?
Because that's when we said chocolate good enough for breakfast, right?
That's how we advertise this.
So one of the things in raw chocolate that you hear about is theobromine. And theobromine is one of the active ingredients in chocolate that makes it special. It makes us feel good. It's good for our heart. It's good. It's full of magnesium. So it's actually super healthy for us. It's a vasodilator, and it's a calming effect. So it's like
Vasodilator.
yeah. So one of the things we don't want is arteries that are squeezed tight when they're open, more blood flow. If you have heart problems, you want to have your heart arteries open. So a vasodilator is a good thing. So rather than taking medication, you can eat chocolate instead to open the arteries to your heart and be healthy. So that's how good it is. You can actually medicate yourself with chocolate. See now, well,
You heard it here first.
So now it's looking good, but I'm going to taste it and see. There's a couple of tiny lumps. I'm going to taste it and see. What do you think Rose wants to do? I think for Rose, she'd almost find this sweet. But I'm going to add just a little bit of this here artichoke heart root syrup, which is a little bit like molasses, but not quite. It's runnier and a little different sweetness.
You got enough hot water, Rob?
Yep. I think so. It's got a nice consistency to it now. So the first thing I'm going to do, now that I've got to a consistency that I like, and you can see that it looks really nice and chocolatey and yummy. I'll just do another taste just to make sure.
That's why he's tasting, sure.
Yes, yes. So it's good. So I want to make sure it's good quality. So now we're going to just pour some of it in here. Good. And again, I could do it all if I wanted, but I'm just going to do part of it because I'm going to do 2 different types of chocolate here. So, and the nice thing about this is that looks good. Clean this edge off here. Again, being efficient as I can be. So tasty. And I'm going to just put it in the hot water so it stays soft. And then I can do the next chocolate after I finish this one. So I'm just going to spread this around so it's a relatively thin layer. Make nice designs in it if you like. But you don't want it to be too thick because you want to be able to spread it out. Now this bag of chocolate here,
Oops, I'll take care of that.
costs $20. That's raw chocolate, organic, some of the best you can get. Now you want to make sure you get a good source of chocolate. Unfortunately, a number of years ago, chocolate had an infestation of mold. And this threatened the chocolate supply of the world. So with lots of work and playing with different strains and things, they found a strain of chocolate that was mold resistant. But it wasn't very tasty. But it grew lots of chocolate. So when you're buying chocolate bars and the big companies that make, I don't want to say the names of chocolate bars, but the mass-produced chocolate bars, they need lots of chocolate. So for them, that type of chocolate was really good. They had lots of milk and they had lots of sugar and lots of wax and lots of things. So there's not that much chocolate. When you make a chocolate like this with this here with the cacao paste, it's about a 60% chocolate. That's what you get when you buy a 60% dark chocolate bar. If you want to add more, you add more cocoa or cacao, and that makes it darker. So you just keep adding it. Now, if there's a saturation point, you can only go so far. And actually, there's no standardization. Just because you buy a chocolate bar that says 60% doesn't mean it's 60% because they're not taking different people use different math because there's no government regulations over chocolate numbers. You'd be surprised. It's a valuable commodity.
Chocolate is so important. You'd think they'd have it figured out.
So now I've got my smear of chocolate bark, and then grab my sour cherries. Do you like the sour cherries? Oh, yeah, they're yummy. And then we're just going to do. So I'm going to sprinkle them conservatively over here, just because I find the sour cherries are nice, but you don't want them to clump too much together. Because you want to have each bite of chocolate have a cherry or 2 in it. I'm just going to go through here, and I'll put Rose to work in a minute here. Because what you want to do, I'm going to do one more handful here because that's not quite enough, is go around and just poke them down into the chocolate. They're sitting on top, which is fine, but you'll find when you break it apart, a lot of them will fall off. So if you just poke them down into the chocolate.
I can do that.
I use fingers, but Rose looks like she's going to be civilized and use a spoon. But I go like this with my fingers and poke them all in that way.
Whack. Yeah.
So then once that's done, we're going to put it in the cooler, and that'll cool off and turn into the bark we just had. Now the rest of this chocolate's still nice and liquidy because it's sitting in the hot water. I'm going to add some pistachios.
They're over here.
Over here.
Once again, raw, eh?
Raw chocolate. Yeah. Then I still like to toast them. So when I'm doing a bark with pistachios, I still put them and I sprinkle a bit of salt, but I also toast them in a frying pan. Just get a little toast on the outside. It's still raw on the inside, so it's still good for you, but the toast on the outside tastes so good. So, but for this, I'm just going to add some pistachios to this mix here.
One of my favorite chocolates is ginger with chocolate, but I don't think you could put raw ginger root in. But I like crystallized or preserved ginger.
Yeah.
You do lose some of the rawness of it, but it's so delicious. I think it would be okay.
You know what would be really tasty, I think? If you took candied ginger and dipped it in just dark chocolate with almost no sweetener.
I was thinking about that today.
That would be really yummy.
That would be
So
yummy.
I got those. So I got some pistachios and some goji berries. And goji berries are another really high in antioxidants. So again, you're creating already a superfood of chocolate, but you're adding other superfoods to it, like pistachios and goji berries and this artichoke root here. So everything we're adding, the lucuma, the mesquite, they all actually add food value and nutrition to it. So actually it's getting better and better for you. It's already started pure, just the chocolate and the sweetener. That was good for you. But now we just added more and more to make it that much better. Just going to mix these up here. Do they need more goji berries or more pistachios? What would you say, Rose?
That looks good. I think
Looks
it would be
good.
nice. I always like to go heavy on the chocolate, lighter on the
On the ingredients.
lighter on the other ingredients.
Well, yeah, you know
That's
what I might
just
add?
me.
I might add a little bit of this here, coconut manna.
Oh, okay.
Because it's tasty. And I like that coconutty flavor in there too. So we're just gonna add a
Yeah,
little bit of
coconut is
I
yummy.
love coconut.
You could even do flakes, like big flakes of coconut. That would be
that.
yummy.
Exactly, that's exactly what we got here.
Oh,
Flakes
there's
of
some right
coconut.
there.
And the ones that we're gonna eat here, there's flakes of coconut in there. Try one of these, Rose. Have you
Ooh.
tried one yet?
Okay, look at me.
Yeah, you guys should try one too. Here.
What a hard job, eh?
Pass it, one
All
try.
right, this has got goji berry. Oh, and it comes out so pretty too. What a cute little chocolate cake.
Oh, you're good? Okay. All right.
Mmm, yum.
You do want to keep them cold before you serve them, though. These things melt.
They do melt. And that's the point of it. So, yeah, you'll notice it doesn't take much to melt it. It should actually melt in your hand. If it does that, you know it's still raw. If you cook it, then it'll get firmer and better shelf life. But and it, you want it to last. It doesn't last very long. Chocolate never gets old. It's when it's so tasty. It can get old. Clean that off with your tongue.
Yeah.
Yes, why would you not?
Do you
Yes.
need it again?
No, but you can't
Then
waste
here.
that chocolate.
Well,
That Laura.
One of the young people can lick the beater, right?
There you go.
You know what they say? Good mothers let their children lick the beater. Great mothers turned off the machine first.
Yes. So I'm just gonna take a scoop of this. I've got these little cups in here. I just put a few cups in, and I just put it in here just in case I drip. I'm not dripping on the table, and this is where an ice cube tray is handy too if you want to make little nuggets. But these are prettier though. So
When my kids were younger, I also made chocolates at home with regular chocolate and had a big variety of chocolate molds, and I expect you could use those
yeah,
as well.
for sure. Yeah, chocolate molds work great. So then, Rose, if you want to do me a favor, now it's not necessary, but aesthetically, I like to put one pistachio and one goji berry on each top, just like we did here, to make it pretty. And then you also know what's in the chocolate, because if you do a very number of different types of chocolate, if you know what's on top of it, you know what's in the chocolate.
Oh, good idea. And presentation is important.
Presentation is important, yes.
We love that.
And another thing that's really good is just, especially when I make the pistachio or the cashews, I get some raw cashews here, and I'll toast those a little bit too, put them in, but then add a little bit of sea salt, or even just pure chocolate with a bit of sea salt in it. So tasty.
I really love salt and sweet and salt and chocolate together. Now, one of my favorite treats, I don't know how healthy it would be, is pretzels dipped in chocolate.
I think
Super delicious. And I think, especially if you're using this extremely healthy chocolate, you could forgive yourself for the pretzel.
For sure. Oh, yeah, for
Absolutely.
sure. Without a doubt. So, you can reach in there. I promise not to muck you up too much. I'll
Here,
switch
we'll
sides
trade
here.
places. There we go.
There you go.
All right. Good. I like to have a job. I was feeling useless standing here telling bad jokes.
All right. I think we have room for one more, so I did have another cup here. So I want any of this to go bad. I know Laura can help me out afterwards.
I know.
She has.
Oh, see, and I've messed it up. I put 2 cashew berries. Oh, 2 cashews and no goji. Oh. The responsibility of it
I
all.
don't pay her enough, I guess.
He's not paying me at all.
Well, he's giving you chocolate.
You get what you pay for. That's a lesson. That's a life lesson.
All right, so here we go.
Now, I don't think that we're not supposed to particularly advertise any stores or anything because I don't think that's sort of part of the RISE agreement. But you could probably find, well, certainly, raw cocoa. You could find it at a health food store.
For sure.
Now, I didn't like the powdered cocoa. I did not find this easily.
Yeah, it's not many places
cocoa
you can get
paste.
the cocoa paste, which makes it really easy. It makes your job easier because you got the cocoa butter and the cocoa powder together in one, and it just comes in this raw form. The light seller in Boness is close to my office. I have a chiropractic clinic in Boness. They're just down the street from me, and so it's great. I can get this, and it's about $20 per bag. And they say we used about a third of a bag between making the log roll. Oh, you want me to go get your
Ooh, I'll
log roll
get
too?
it right now, yeah.
And the bark we did, the sauerkraut bark, and these ones here. So for
You pick me up that little...
$7 worth of chocolate and a little bit of agave, we only used this much agave, so not much. We made a lot of chocolate, and that's really nice. So and here we have some cocoa butter. This one here.
It's also very intense chocolate. It's
strong.
not like eating a big slab of Hershey's or something.
Yeah, so you get satisfied. You don't. 100 grams is actually a lot to eat, but in a day you can use 100 grams. Because that gives you your 55,000 ORAX, which is going to be really good for your heart and your lungs and your inflammation in your body. So for that reason, how you doing?
You know what? I don't think I'm going to be able to make my chocolate
I
roll.
think you need more
It just-
cocoa in there, I think.
I think it just didn't get cold enough
I think you need more cocoa too.
because it's still quite warm.
Let's do this. Give me a couple more
But
scoops here.
I'll explain the method. It's not difficult.
There you go.
You want your chocolate to cool down to a point where it's really quite thick and
Like cookie dough.
like Play-Doh or cookie dough, exactly so. And then we're going to take, oh, you were right, Rob. Oh, I hate having to say that to my brother. Oh,
I like hearing it though.
oh my gosh. Some things never change. You know, we're both older than dirt now. You'd think we'd be done.
Well, she is.
Oh, what a scandal you are. So I'm getting a nice piece of plastic film here, just some cling film.
This can go into the cooler as well. Never mind. Thank you.
And I'm going to lay it right out. And I'm going to bring the chocolate onto there and use my spoon just to make it into a vaguely oblong shape. And now I'm going to roll it. And I want to make sure that there's lots of overlap in the plastic so we don't have any leakage later. And when I take the ends and start twisting them, you get a tighter and tighter
Little sausage of
little
chocolate.
sausage of chocolate. And when that cools, you can slice it and you get these beautiful slices of chocolate. Now this one that Laura's holding up to the camera, I did earlier today, and I got way too in a hurry and was too impatient about waiting for it to be cold enough to go properly into the plastic. And so it's not exactly what you call round. It's more of an oblong salami, but it tastes quite delicious. Here, my turn to say,
Thank
you taste my chocolate.
All right.
And this is the one that I've made to be like a fruit and nut bar.
Very much is like that.
It is. It's got a great flavor to it.
Mm.
All right. Now, do you have more information for everyone?
Well, I'm just going to cover the basic recipe, which you can get from us. But if you're going to do it separately, you do 1 cup of cocoa, 1 cup of cocoa butter, a 1/4 cup of sweetener, and a little bit of vanilla. That's your basic recipe.
Can you use liquid vanilla?
You can. You have to be a little bit careful. It's a good question because using liquids that are water-based can shock your chocolate.
That's true.
Now, you don't want to shock your chocolate.
Raw chocolate or regular chocolate. It kind of goes into a strange stiff.
Well, if you think it's oil-based, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's an oil. So if you put it doesn't like water. So as soon as you put watery substance in there, it gets all clumpy. So you don't want to do that. So you want to keep. That's why if you're gonna make milk chocolate, don't use milk. Use milk powder.
Ah, okay, good tip.
Ideally, a good source of milk powder if you can get organic, grass-fed, beautiful, something like that. But that'll make it milky without shocking the chocolate. Because what happens is it's hard to work with it. But then if you want to do that, you can do it intentionally. Last night I made these little fudge balls, which you can't really see that well, but they're there. Trust me. I added some peanut butter. My idea is cashew butter, but I didn't have any, so I used peanut butter. And that keeps it a little bit softer. And then I added a little bit of rum.
Ooh.
And the rum has the water in it too, so that added a bit of flavor, but also shocked the chocolate to make it come together. And I just mixed it up and put it into little balls and made these little chocolates.
It occurs to me you could put hazelnuts and add a little frangelico.
Yes.
That'd be good.
But you want to do the frangelico right at the end because otherwise it's going to inhibit your mixing because it's going to shock the chocolate a little bit. Which at the end, if that's what you want to do, is okay. Now, if you can eat raw chocolate, if you get really good, you won't do it at home, but at these chocolate stores, they heat it up to a certain temperature and then cool it down.
It's called tempering.
Tempering.
Yeah.
And so they temper it to a certain point, and then you can get raw chocolate that actually is firm and shelf stable. The chocolate we're making gets smooshy at room temperature.
Mm-hmm.
So when you keep it in the fridge and bring it out just before you're going to eat it. About 10 or 15 minutes is ideal because then it gets just soft enough to really be delicious, but it's still nice and fresh. If it stays out for a couple hours at a party, it might get mushy. What I do is I take a bowl like this and I put an ice pack underneath it and then put the chocolate in there. And then it keeps it cool for the duration of a party. But if you have it in your fridge, take it a piece at a time, no problem.
Can you freeze
Nice
it?
tip.
Yes, you can freeze it. That just extends life a bit. But you have to make a lot of it to make it worth freezing because
Eat it.
you eat it, exactly. Like this here is beautiful chocolate. This
Make
wouldn't last
small
very long.
ones.
You know, what, 3 days maybe?
Yeah.
If you're lucky?
Maybe.
Maybe.
Not if the grandkids came.
And if you have company, but you do find you don't eat as much. You tend to have a couple pieces, then you feel somewhat satisfied. It's okay, I'm good for a while because it's so rich and so vibrant, and it really is satisfying chocolate. Whereas a milk chocolate, Halloween when the little chocolate bars come out,
Yeah.
I don't eat a lot of chocolate, that kind of chocolate, but Well, those come out, they just go down so easy. A caramel and a crispy crunch, another caramel and a dairy milk. And all of a sudden, I've eaten a dozen of these little chocolate bars. But if I don't think I could eat a whole plate of this at one sitting without feeling really, because it's too rich and too heavy. So it actually doesn't. You don't eat more than you would normally. So I'm just going to talk about some of the things you can add, because we talked about a few things. This is one that is really cool: hibiscus powder.
Ooh, I've had tea from hibiscus.
So when I do white chocolate, I just use cocoa butter, just straight cocoa butter, melt it up. Add some this cocoa manna. What is this? This one here, yes. This is just the coconut meat and the coconut butter. Add that, a little bit of that, some of that with a little bit of sweetener, some hibiscus flower. You have pink white chocolate. It's delicious.
It says it will lower high blood pressure, ease insomnia, and lower cholesterol too. So bonus all around.
So yeah, so there's just so many benefits of all these different things. So you can just pick and choose the ones that you need. They're gonna like happy to your taste buds and happy for your heart or happy for whatever inflammation, whatever you want, or if you want to sleep more. This chocolate actually helps you sleep better because it's rich in magnesium. Some people say don't eat chocolate, it stimulates. No, its stimulation is much milder than caffeine, and the magnesium actually helps you sleep.
Nice.
So I just things to add, optional things. Dried fruit, of course, we did that here. We had different. This one here we didn't talk about. Inca berries.
Ooh, I love golden berries.
Goji berries, sour cherries, sweet cherries, mangoes, any kind of dried fruit really works well. Nuts, pistachios, cashews, almonds, and you can do raw ones. You can even use planters peanuts if you want to add it to your chocolate. It's still going to be really tasty. You lose a lot of the food value because once you roast peanuts, they lose a lot of their food value. But toasting them lightly still keeps the food value. Sea salt, we talked about that. How good it's so rich in minerals too. So it's tasty. Yet it's really and it adds minerals to your chocolate. Coconut oil, again, that adds a little bit of creaminess, and you can use all coconut oil. If you don't have cocoa butter, you can just use cocoa and coconut oil. More cacao or more cocoa if you want to have a darker chocolate. Although this is pretty dark chocolate just the way it is. Lucuma, we talked about that. That adds a bit of sweetness. The essential oils, a couple drops of peppermint oil. Make a nice peppermint chocolate. Delicious. Maca, I had some of that here again. I didn't add it today. I often do, but it adds a bit of flavor. It helps fertility, libido, all sorts of good things. It's good stuff. Now I wouldn't add a lot of this if you're gonna eat it at nighttime. But there's a little taste when I tasted the maca there.
And distraught.
Oh, it's nice. It's sort of buttery.
It's almost buttery, yeah.
Very buttery flavor.
So a lot of these things are actually good for us. Add a little creaminess, but also have nutritional value and health benefits. So it's pretty magical stuff. Mesquite we talked about. Algae, that's the blue-green algae, the spirulina. Again, so good for you. And it does add a bit of richness and flavor to it, but it doesn't overpower it. The chocolate is strong enough that you don't even hardly notice the greens. Medicinal mushrooms, we have some of those here. Chaga mushrooms. Here, there's chaga here.
Really? Mushrooms?
Yeah. Or a medicinal mushroom, reishi mushrooms, which are very good. Mushrooms are very good at fighting cancer. So if you know someone with cancer, want to make chocolate, add a quarter teaspoon, or it depends on the size of the batch, or half a teaspoon of chaga, or this one's 14 medicinal blends. So we've got all these different mushrooms in it. So you can do that. Bee pollen, a great thing to add on top of your chocolate. So good for you. So it helps your immune system, rich in antioxidants again. So by adding bee pollen, it adds a nice flavor. And some honey. Honey and bee pollen seem like they should go together. So if I was going to do bee pollen, I'd use honey as my sweetener. And then, so those are just a few of the things that you can add to it. I talked about theobromine. That's the main ingredient that we all talk about. There's your vasodilator there.
Yes.
But it's also diuretic, so it helps you get rid of water. So if you tend to hold on to water, this chocolate's really good. It helps you do that. It helps prevent cancer. Theo breaks down to God, and broma is food. So food for the god. That's what this is. Chocolate is food for the gods. So we should eat more of this. If you want to be specific, the temperature is supposed to be 108, 118. But if you use boiled water like this, you don't have to worry about that. If you're doing it on a double boiler, you can use a temperature and keep it in that range. So it keeps it. So that it keeps it at a temperature that's really rich in nutrients. So we have that. We'll do those. Made all our chocolate, haven't we?
We've made all of our chocolate. We've tasted all of our chocolate. We're sorry the rest of you can't taste it. The people here, though, how did you like it?
Oh, fantastic.
I don't know if you can hear that, but they're a happy group.
Yes, we get thumbs up.
My
yes.
neighbor is going to be so sad she didn't.
We'll send you home. We'll send you home something.
We'll send a little something for Gordy, too, because he wants something.
A question.
Yes, what's your question?
For the chocolate, if you're diabetic, is there like a different kind of chocolates you should stay away from?
Well, if you do the raw chocolate, you're okay, and then you can add it. You can use like lucuma and mesquite because they're really low glycemic index, and then just a little bit of stevia if you want it sweeter, or you can or this artichoke root syrup is really low glycemic index as well, and as long as you use it in moderation. For a diabetic, this would be the best one, or better yet, stevia. Now, stevia is a bit tricky because it's so sweet. You have to add just a little bit to make your chocolate really sweet. So it's one you have to play with. Whereas these ones here with a more bulk are easy to work with. So I'd say some lucuma and some artichoke root syrup, and use that in moderation with your raw chocolate, and it's going to be delicious and good for a diabetic.
I would also be cautious about dried fruit if I was a
Yeah.
diabetic also.
I'm a diabetic.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the nuts are fine, the bee pollen, and then I said just stay away from the dried fruits.
Mm-hmm.
And then again in moderation too.
Yeah,
For the piece.
I find that using natural things, my favorite is maple syrup, rather than artificial sweeteners is far better. It works far better for me.
Yeah, artificial sweeteners, they tend to trick your body. So like aspartame and NutraSweets, they're tricky to work with because certainly they don't give you the spike in your glycemic index, which is good, but they don't. Your body doesn't know what to do with it because it's tricky. It says I got something sweet, so it still produces actually a bit of insulin, even though there's no sugar there, because it doesn't. Insulin's not actually good for us. It is if there's sugar in our system, but if there's no sugar for it to do, it actually is hard on our arteries. So the spikes in insulin is actually what is hard on our arteries when we're diabetic, or anyone for that matter. But diabetics more so because they have more spikes. So you want to stay away from that. So artificial sweeteners actually create an insulin spike even though there's no sugar.
And that creates stress hormones.
Creates stress in the body. So sometimes those artificial sweeteners are useful. The one that obviously I like best of those is stevia because it's a natural root and it's sweet, but you have to really be careful not to use too much of it because it is really super sweet. Like a tiny little eighth of a teaspoon in this one of these bowls of chocolate would be probably more than enough, maybe even too much. It's that sweet.
Just a couple of grains of stevia often is all you need. I'm laughing because you can't see it, but off camera there's people licking spoons and digging into everything.
Yes, and trying all these different things because there's so many tasty things, and some of them are so good for you. We sometimes think that if it's sweet, it's not good for a diabetic, but it has to be the right kind of sweet. And so learning some of these other products really helps you learn that natural balance. There's a sweetness that doesn't get absorbed into our system the same way. So it's the quality of the sugar more than the sugar itself.
Yeah. So essentially not really just chocolate that's healthier, but actually actively good for you.
It's actively good for you. Yeah, it's not like you're trying to make a healthy chocolate. You're making a superfood, the one that's actually going to be advantageous to your health. If you eat some of this chocolate every day, you're going to be healthier. It's that good. So
I think there was a question.
So would white chocolate not be a good chocolate for a diabetic?
No. White chocolate's okay. It doesn't have as much of the good food value as because the cacao, the dark part, is the part that there is some good food value in the cocoa butter, but the real good stuff is in the dark chocolate. It's in the cocoa part of it. So that's the better stuff. But it's a matter of what sweetener you use is the important part. And so if you use a good sweetener in your white chocolate, that still can be fine too.
Okay,
Would you
thank you.
repeat the white chocolate proportions for us again?
Well, white chocolate, you just have to play with it. Basically, white chocolate is just cocoa butter melted.
Yeah.
And then you add a little bit of, you could add some, you have to have a little bit of substance. So that's why the coconut or the mesquite or the lucuma, things like that, to add a little bit of substance to it because there's no cocoa to give it substance. So it needs a little something. So, and then you add your nuts. People like almond bark, white almond bark. So you take your cocoa butter, a little bit of sweetener, some lucuma, some mesquite, add your almonds, mix it up, and pour it out and spread it out. And you have a great block.
Good. And I'm also looking at the back of the white chocolate, the white cocoa butter, and it's saying the sodium is 0, the cholesterol is 0, and the sugars are 0. So it's what you add to it that's going to make the difference to you in the sense of a diabetic diet.
Yeah, any raw chocolate before you add the sweetener to it is great for diabetics, but it's bitter. So
very bitter.
You can actually eat it. Where's our chocolate here?
I'm not eating that.
I'll eat it.
Oh, all right.
You actually like dark chocolate.
Well, I like dark chocolate, but not
is-
like completely
You
without
like
sweet.
98%.
And actually, I should have grabbed some of the nibs because you can buy little nibs.
Yeah.
And the nibs come, they're just a tiny little piece, they're just raw chocolate that gets mashed into this paste, is what it is. And the nibs you add to a granola mix or to other things or top your regular chocolate with it. And it's just pure chocolate, just like this. It's just raw chocolate.
Oh, here, I will taste it.
They might be fun sprinkled on your white chocolate.
It could be fun. Excellent doing that. Actually,
It is. It's, you know what? It's quite bitter and
I'll try
nice,
just a little bit.
but
Thank you.
it's kind of like eating baker's chocolate when you're young.
it is.
So you get
Yeah,
in the cupboard and eat baker's chocolate.
yeah. You thought you were getting something sweet, and then you bit it, and oh, it was my stars so awful.
But it's
Yeah.
not so bad once you get used to it. It's, So yeah, so all chocolate, the white chocolate and dark, and the regular full-on chocolate, are both excellent for diabetics. I highly recommend. Actually, I'd say diabetics should be eating this chocolate. It'd be actually beneficial for you.
Good deal. All right, well, if there's no more questions, I think we're going to wind up. We've just about used our hour. We've really enjoyed ourselves, and we have a lot of chocolate to eat here, so I think we have to get to it. Are there any other questions or comments before we finish up? Right. Well, I would like to thank Steve at Marigold for being on top
Thanks,
of the
Steve.
tech, and my brother Rob for coming out here to do this wonderful program, and all the people who came to visit, and all of you. We'll
right.
see you again sometime soon. Bye, Jocelyn.
Thanks.